This cathedral burned in 2019. What is standing here today is nothing short of a miracle. Welcome, Wanderlusters. I'm Amy, always the adventurer. I am standing outside Notre Dame, and I have to be honest with you, I was not prepared for how emotional this was going to feel. In April 2019, the world watched this building burn. The spire collapsed, the roof caved in, and yet here it is, restored, reopened, and more beautiful than ever. Today, I'm taking you through the history of Notre Dame, the fire, the restoration, and what it means to stand here in 2026. This one got me. Now, before we get inside, I want to talk about getting in, because Notre Dame is one of those places where a little bit of planning goes a long way. You can book tickets in advance online, and I would always recommend that for peak times. There are also some incredible guided tours available through platforms like Viator that will take you inside with a guide who brings the whole history to life. And if that's something you're interested in, just drop a comment below or reach out to me directly, and I can help you find the perfect tour for your trip. But on this trip, we joined the standby line, and honestly, it moved faster than I expected. The line wraps around the square outside, Pardi Notre Dame, and it looks intimidating, but it keeps moving, so do not be put off if you see a queue when you arrive. It is worth every minute of the wait. We went through security, bags through the scanner, just like an airport. The good news is they do have a line without tickets, so that is where I am right now, is to get into the cathedral without tickets. We walked in to find a church service in progress at the altar. And I want to be honest with you, I was not prepared for that. Notre Dame is not a museum, never has been. It's a living, breathing piece of worship that has been holding services continuously for 850 years, through wars, revolutions, fires, and pandemics. Standing at the back, watching that moment, I felt the full weight of that history in a way that no guidebook could ever prepare you for. And then I looked up. The nave, the main body of the cathedral, stretches 130 meters from the entrance to the altar. The ceiling vaults above you at 35 meters. And the stained glass, filtering that particular quality of light that only exists in a Gothic cathedral, fills the whole space with color. This is what 850 years of craftsmanship looks like, and it was almost lost forever. Around the outer walls of the cathedral, visitors have been lighting votive candles, bougies votive, for centuries. Each one a prayer, each one a small flame of hope left in this extraordinary building. After everything Notre Dame has been through, I found these candles genuinely moving. The Mass was still ongoing as we moved through the cathedral, and I think that's the thing that stays with you the most. This is not a monument. It's not a set piece for tourists. This is a community. These are people who come here every week to worship, in the same building, at the same altar as Parisians have done since 1163. The stained glass windows of Notre Dame are among the most extraordinary things I've ever seen, right up there with La Sagrada Familia in Sainte-Chapelle. The colors, those deep blues and reds, are achieved through a medieval technique that has never been fully replicated. Some of these windows date back to the 13th century. They survived the Revolution, they survived 2 world wars, and they survived the fire of 2019. Running around the outer edges of the cathedral, still inside but away from the main nave, is a series of individual chapels. The Chapel of St. Louis, the Chapel of Saint Germain, the Chapel of Saint Marcel, each one its own little world, its own history, its own extraordinary decoration. What I love about these chapels is that most people walk straight past them on their way to the rose windows or the altar, but if you slow down, and I really encourage you to slow down in here, each one rewards you with something completely unexpected. A painting, a statue, a detail that has been here for centuries just waiting for someone to stop and notice it. That is Notre Dame that most people miss, and it is worth finding. And then there is this. That golden circular disc is the tabernacle, the most sacred object in any Catholic church, the vessel that holds the consecrated Eucharist, the body of Christ. And this one is brand new, designed by French artist Guillaume Bardet, specifically for the restored Notre Dame, commissioned by the Archbishop of Paris himself, created in bronze, unveiled when the cathedral reopened in December of 2024. It sits in front of an 800-year-old stained glass, brand new craft in front of an ancient art, and I think that image, that contrast, captures something profound about what Notre Dame is in 2026, not a museum of the past. There are moments in travel that recalibrate you, that make you realize how small you are and how extraordinary human beings can be at the same time. Standing inside Notre Dame and looking up is one of those moments. And then the Mass ended, and we were lucky enough to witness something that most visitors never see. The priests processing from the altar back into the Sacristies, where they prepare and conclude the Mass. This door closing behind them felt like the end of something ancient and important, a ritual that has been performed in this building for nearly 1,000 years, continuing uninterrupted even after everything. Notre Dame has 3 rose windows, the great circular stained glass windows that are one of the defining features of Gothic architecture. The north rose window dates from 1250. That is older than the Magna Carta, older than the first universities, and it's still here, still perfect, still letting that extraordinary light in. The columns of Notre Dame rise 35 meters to the vaulted ceiling, and between them, the candelabras, great iron chandeliers holding hundreds of candles. In a building this old, in a space this vast, candlelight is not decoration, it's the original light source, and it's still here. Walking back out through those great doors into the Paris afternoon, the contrast is extraordinary. Inside, silence, candlelight, 850 years of history. Outside, the city, the noise, the tourists, the Seine, glittering in the sun. Notre Dame sits in the absolute heart of Paris. Literally, there is a brass marker in the square out front called Point Zero, the point from which all distances in France are measured. Everything in France radiates out from this spot. And here on the south side of the cathedral, the crane, still there, still working because the restoration of Notre Dame is not finished. The exterior stonework, the flying buttresses, the surrounding structures, the work continues. And then this, the Bateau Bus, one of the riverboats that carries tourists along the Seine, passing under the bridge right next to the cathedral, and every single person on that boat looking up at Notre Dame, waving, taking photos, because even from the water, even just passing by, this building demands your attention. It always has, it always will. And right outside on the bridge, street performers, inline skaters showing off their skills to the tourists streaming in and out of the cathedral behind them. And I love this moment because it's so completely Paris, sacred and joyful and chaotic and beautiful all at the same time. Right outside one of the holiest buildings in the world, life is just happening, loudly, joyfully, exactly as it should be. And somewhere in that audio, if you listen carefully, you can hear the bells of Notre Dame still ringing, as they have rung over this city for centuries. Through everything Paris has faced, the bells kept ringing. I think that tells you everything you need to know about this place.
Notre Dame, 850 years old, burned in 2019, restored and standing. Some things are too important to lose. If I can help you plan your Paris trip, drop a comment or reach out. I'm Amy, always the adventurer. Keep wandering, wanderlusters, and I'll see you on the flip side.